Initially I knew that I wanted to go back to grad school, so I started researching, and I ended up choosing the K-State program just for a variety of reasons. One, it was online, which made it very flexible for me to still have a full-time career, but it also provided the opportunity to come on campus and network and engage with my peers and with the faculty here as well. And also just wanted to stick with a university that had a strong reputation and especially had deep roots in agriculture.
Hi, I'm Ben Nuelle, joined with Phil Brasher for this week's Washington Week in Review. A lot of things happening on Capitol Hill this week. Obviously a battle on disaster funding, Phil, that we saw. We'll just kind of start out there. We saw earlier this week that they had a bill, looked like they were going to have something, and then things kind of fell through there midweek.
Yeah, we're really at a standoff in the Senate. This is a bill that was originally developed to cover the disasters from last year, the hurricanes that hit the southeast, the wildfires in California primarily, but some other things as well. And then we had this flooding last month along the Missouri River in Nebraska, western Iowa, devastated that region. And the Democrats in Congress and the White House are deadlocked over Puerto Rico and how much money to spend there.
And just watching this morning, you could see both sides going back and forth, so it doesn't sound like are we thinking they may have something by next week? What's the word on that?
Well, they do have a recess, kind of a 2-week recess around Easter coming up, so next week is when they would like to get something done, but boy, as you were saying, we saw no evidence that of any sign of a compromise on the issue of Puerto Rico. The Democrats came back today with an amendment that would, with a counter proposal that would include money for the flooding disaster in the Midwest, which they earlier didn't cover. But the Republicans rejected that because of this, again, because Republicans think that, and the White House thinks that too much money is being spent in Puerto Rico. So
we also looked at the southern border. The president earlier this week threatened to shut that down, causing some concern in the ag community as far as trade goes. Visited with Secretary Perdue yesterday, Wednesday afternoon, and he was saying they were thinking they would be able to keep the border open with truck traffic, but then shut it down for humans coming through. Today, it looks like the president's kind of backed off and given Mexico a warning with immigrants coming through. Yeah,
that really caused a stir in the ag community, and both exporters and importers. The Mexican border and business with Mexico going both ways is so critical. Obviously a huge market for so many pork, dairy, and on, so many U.S. commodities, and of course we bring a lot from Mexico, particularly in the area of produce. And a lot of concern that now is eased somewhat, and we can move on to the other trade issues like China.
China, lots of trade deals still kind of up in the air. They were talking this week, China negotiations, still kind of looking to see how that kind of wraps up and goes through next week as well.
We still hear signs of progress. We'll see, but that's obviously #1 issue for U.S. agriculture right now.
We also had hearings, several hearings this week. One of those was the House Judiciary looking at kind of ag labor and how that can kind of work together. What's the latest there?
Well, the chairwoman of the subcommittee is from California, Zoe Lofgren, and she has been talking for a couple of months about wanting to do a standalone ag labor bill, which would provide legal status to farm workers who are now in the country illegally, but also make some reforms that farm groups badly want to the H-2A visa program, including making it year-round. That's sort of really a bottom line ask from ag, particularly from the dairy and livestock sector. Talked to Chairwoman Lofgren yesterday. She said she wants to see an agreement between farm groups and farm workers. Now that's a
seems
tall
like it
order.
might be a
It
little
is.
bit challenging.
Farm workers want wages increase. They want and a big issue in H2A for farm groups are the wage requirements. So how you get a deal there, I don't know. And then the big question is, can you get something that can pass the House, can pass the Senate, and get signed by the President, which may be the bigger issue.
Yes, trying to figure that out. Who knows what could happen there. But also some things we're watching next week. The Census of Agriculture did get delayed through the shutdown. Was supposed to be released there last month, but pushed it to this month. Looking at that, anything else we should be watching for next week?
Well, I think if we mention the disaster, I think that's the disaster bill. Is there any kind of breakthrough on that? That's a big deal in the Midwest and certainly in the Southeast in California to get that done.
Thanks for watching. For Phil Brasher, I'm Ben Nuelle.